Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is our Rice News analyst, Emmanuel Efeni, the great Malabite. Good morning.
Good morning, Ruben. Good morning, Bimbai. Good to see you on the morning show.
Pleasure to be here.
Yes, good morning, Rufai Oseni.
Morning, sir.
A.K.A. Rufaya. Now we'll start the review with These Days, Nigeria's newspaper of record. We'll start with the story just above the masthead. After 35 years, Atedo Peterside steps down from Standard Bank Board. Atedo Peterside, banker, a leading voice in Nigerian polity, is stepping down from the Standard Bank Group Limited after 35 years of active service. Of course, the retirement was the retirement of Atedo Peterside as non-executive director of the financial institution listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. Of course, the retirement of the founder of the and chairman of IBTC, the chairman of Standard IBTC Holdings. Yes, that's how it's known these days. Yes, Atedo Peterside started the IBTC investment bank back in the day, became the Standard IBTC bank, and later Standard IBTC Holdings. And yes, you cannot talk about Nigerian banking sector without mentioning Atedo Peterside, who have since become a very active voice on Nigerian polity and the issues of good governance in the country, but is stepping down after 35 years. So I want to say, wish him a happy retirement, but I know he's retiring, but doesn't look tired, if you ask me. We'll now move over to the lead story of this day. Labour's deadline for new wage expires today. Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry calls for flexibility in negotiation. States urge federal government to gradually phase out electricity subsidies in power sector. Say monies spent on inefficient costs. Of course, the issue of the minimum wage is still very much in the front burner. The tripartite committee submitted its report to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and the recommended amount is 62,000 naira. But Labour is not having any of that. As other newspapers are reporting, the Daily Trust newspaper, minimum wage, we won't accept 100,000 naira. Labour. Ajero in Geneva says no strike for now. Local governments can't pay 62,000 naira, according to the Association of Local Government of Nigeria, Argon. Suspense as tripartite committee submits report to Tinubu. What will Labour do? The Punch newspaper, above its masthead, reporting minimum wage. Labour insists on 250,000 naira, awaits Tinubu's verdict. NLC President berates governor, says president will do the right thing. Well, before a bill will be sent to the National Assembly, President Tinubu can up that amount. It has happened before in the days of President Muhammadu Buhari, and Labour is hoping that the president's intervention will stave off what will be another strike. We're talking about strike. If this day lawyer today, Nikepo Braithwaite, writing in the page, yes, the advocate, her column, Labour unions between strike and terrorism. Well, she has some very harsh words. The right of Labour to go on strikes, she said, well, not being contested, but saying the right of, but Labour going the extent of shutting down the national grid, she's comparing it to terrorism. Well, I wouldn't agree with that. Some very harsh categorization there on the part of Onikepo Braithwaite in our column. But what will happen, you will ask? Because Labour is saying 250,000 naira, nothing, but that's where Labour is right now. And one believes that if the negotiation were to continue tomorrow, if they expect government to move up, they will also have to move down. But perhaps a simple way of looking at it was the average of 62,000 naira, which government has put forward for now, and Labour's insistence on 250,000. It will bring you to somewhere close to 156,000 naira. Perhaps if that tripartite committee had to convene again, they should use that as a starting point, 156,000 naira to go down or to go up. And perhaps they will arrive at somewhere that is acceptable, conducive for government, acceptable to Labour. But the other catch here is that the state governments are saying they cannot even pay 60,000 naira, let alone 62. The local governments, Association of Local Governments of Nigeria, also come out to say they can't pay 62,000 naira. But there has to be a national minimum wage in this country. That's what the extant law says. And before long, some figure has to be approved, agreed on. Not necessarily consensus, but something has to be agreed on. And we'll move forward. Because 5 years down the line, Labour will be asking for another review. That's what the law says. So it's no use sticking to one position forever. Now, also on the front page of the Punch newspaper, smuggled Nigerian petrol floods West African markets, sells 1,700 naira per litre. Petrol hits 1,672 naira per litre in Benin. Cameroon, 2,062,000 naira. Liberia, 1,428 naira. In Mali, petrol sells for 2,128 naira. 280,000 liters intercepted in Adamawa, Sokoto, Kebbi, Katsina, Borno, Taraba, Ogun. Well, if you need any indication, or one more indication, that the price of petrol in Nigeria today is being subsidized, here it is. Because in neighboring Benin, it's 1,672 naira. In a situation like that, expectedly, those who are in the business of smuggling will take whatever they get from Nigeria across the border and make a kill. Welcome to the era of subsidy again. Clearly, that is what is going on with our neighbors selling petrol for over 1,500 naira. No, some persons who think of quick business will take what is subsidized in Nigeria across the border and make a huge kill. Now, the Guardian newspaper, piecemeal restructuring, row over house, row as House revives single 6-year tenure bill after 4 failed attempts. Yes, other newspapers reporting this story of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. 35 reps seek rotational presidency, single tenure of 6 years, institutes over 50 reform bills. And of course, that story is also on the front page of New Telegraph newspaper. Reps seek rotational 6-year single term for president, governors. 2 VPs want all elections in 1 day, mandatory electronic transmission of results. Well, a rush of changes. These 35 legislators who call themselves reform-minded legislators. A number of the issues are things Nigerians have been talking about. Talk about the single term, 6-year single term. Ruben, you gave an historical excursion on the single tenure since the days of Babangida, but I think you skip one very historical point on that. In the days of President Olusegun Obasanjo as president,
I mentioned.
Yeah, it came up, and wrongly or rightly, That was what was being referred to as Obasanjo's seeking a third term. Because the thinking then was that if it was passed then by the National Assembly, Obasanjo would want to start it, and because it was in the twilight of his second term when that discussion came up. How this will solve all our problems politically, I don't know. Talking about two vice presidents, one succession vice president. How that sounds? The fact is that the country needs restructuring. Before these 35 senators coming up with this long list of amendments they want to the Constitution, of course, there was a recent debate about whether we should go back to the parliamentary system in order to cut costs. Perhaps that will even make the president, if that's the nomenclature we use then, more responsible because he will be accountable to Parliament. He will be in Parliament to defend his position. And of course, the costs where we have the dual camera National Assembly will reduce costs significantly. So all these need to be put into the mix. But these legislators have raised salient points, especially also as it has to do with elections and conduct of elections in Nigeria, where we've been having a lot of problems in recent times. All elections should be held in one day. The INEC that is finding it difficult to move materials and deal with all the logistics when you have just presidential and National Assembly election, governorship and state houses of assembly elections will not have everything in one day. But it is doable if we plan. Is it worth considering? So that there will be no bandwagon effect. Or one party who wins. Imagine if we had all the elections in one day, what would have happened? On that day, the presidential election took place. Of course, perhaps the coloration would have been different because, for instance, Labour performed very well in a number of states, which they could not repeat in the governorship election. But these are things to be considered, of course, including the fact that we need to conclude all election petitions before swearing in. It's been done in Kenya. I don't see why we cannot do that in Nigeria. And I think as we go forward, there will be inputs, there will be contributions, and others will join the conversation. And it is good that this issue of election is being handled very early in the tenure of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So it's not when it is close to election time we'll start talking about these issues. And of course, the Nation newspaper talking about the Southwest governors who met yesterday in Lagos, and they're talking about Southwest governors go into massive food production. It's one of the issues they dealt with yesterday. I remember some time ago when we had this problem of tomatoes arriving in Lagos. Then it was a different cost. And the Southwest governors asked their people to go into massive production of food items. And I remember a lot of tomatoes coming out of the Southwest area at that time. I don't know what happened to that initiative, but now they are restating it. Now the newspapers from South Africa, let's look at the Citizen newspaper of South Africa, get to work now, serial. Of course, business leadership South Africa, one of the members, Busi Mavuso, is telling the president, look, you're wasting too much time on discussing this issue of alliance. And that if decisions are not taken quickly, I'm talking of the Citizen newspaper of South Africa, we put it up there, that it may just affect the economy of South Africa that is fragile at this stage. So Cyril Ramaphosa should get to work, conclude issues about this alliance, but it's not all dependent on him. The Business Day South Africa is reporting DA 6 more time to weigh ANC alliance. So it's not dependent on ANC alone. The other parties that ANC is trying to woo into an alliance are also taking their time. Now, if you look at the Herald newspaper of Zimbabwe, Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, Kumbi operators meet over change. Yes, ZIG 55 million notes coins released to ease traveling. Of course, the ZIG, the Zimbabwe gold, the new currency. There have been complaints in the domestic market that they're not having enough change. But the Zimbabwe bank said, having pumped 55 million Zimbabwean gold into the market, the situation should change soon. Now, the UK papers, the Times of London, Tories offer lower taxes and help for home buyers. Sunak makes election pitch as heir to Thatcher. The Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, will be releasing his manifesto formally today. And the Financial Times is reporting Labour's reluctance to roll out capital gains tax rise stokes investment fear. Labour's reluctance to roll out capital gains tax rise stokes investment fears. And we just conclude with the Washington Post. Blinken turns up heat on Hamas. Of course, the proposal for ceasefire put forward by the U.S., which was approved by the Security Council yesterday, Anthony Blinken, the U.S. is in the Middle East shuttle diplomacy to put pressure not only on Israel but on Hamas to accept that deal so that there can be ceasefire in the Gaza war. Ruben, Vembai, and Rufai.
In the UK, there's been a lot of talk about taxation with the Conservatives, with Rishi Sunak, thinking that if he cuts 2% of, I think, national insurance, he will be able to gain traction after the scandal of his not paying enough attention to D-Day the other week. But at the same time, all the parties are articulating their manifestos. The Labour Party, which has a 20-point lead in the polls, says yes, it would not touch, other taxes, including corporation tax, which is what they call VAT. But Labour Party is not giving any assurance on capital gains tax. So that's part of the conversation. The Lib Dems, no, they are even saying, in fact, capital gains tax will go up. In any case, what this is all about that we have seen so far is that this is an issue-oriented, issue-based, campaign, which is maybe one lesson we can learn. They talk about taxation, they talk about immigration, they talk about national security, the place of Britain in the world. And you see the debate, is focused on issues, not the kind of thing that we do here. We hope next election we will discuss issues and not engage in the politics of name-calling that seems to dominate in Nigeria.
Also, we can institute mandatory debate among candidates.
Well,
here.
Very briefly, where some candidates will not attend debate.
Very briefly, I wanted to talk about what President Tinubu did yesterday with the appointment of new persons to the Police Service Commission. The Police Service Commission now has as chairman retired DIG Agungu. Ashim Agungu, DIG retired. It has a Secretary Chief Namani. It has retired DIG Taiwo Lakanu as a principal member of the commission. These are the three names announced yesterday. We're told that other members will be appointed later, and all of this subject to the approval of the Senate. However, the point to make is that we hope that this new set that will run the Police Service Commission will give us a different Police Service Commission, which is a creation of the Constitution, Section 153, and also, the Police Service Commission #1 of 2001. Now, Mr. Agungu is a lawyer, LLB, LLM, was once in the legal prosecution at the headquarters. TIG Taiwo Lakanu is also LLB, BA, LLM. He retired as a first secretary. He's been commissioner of police in Imo, in Ekiti. He was a principal member of the management team of the police. So these are insiders. But for being insiders, we hope that some of the errors we had with that commission in the past will not repeat itself. That the Police Service Commission will work well with the with the IGP.
With the IGP.
Because once the IGP and the chairman of the commission took themselves to court, you know, and then yesterday President Tinubu also appointed someone in charge of police trust fund, which is also a big issue. So we hope that, you know, all the controversies we had in the past under Musliu Smith, under Justice Ogunbiyi, or, you know, over the years about recruitment and the powers of the commission will not happen this time around, and that the commission will be able to work smoothly, you know, with both the police and the Nigerian public, because we also have a stake in it. In fact, there's a position for journalists on that commission.
Well, you served on the police trust fund, so we need to go. Mr. Fendi, Dr. Bassey, let's wrap it up here.
Okay, thank you very much, Emmanuel.